in Ethiopia to what we can do here. So that is why we need to educate ourselves on voting and elections again and again. Two is to provide a summary of the activities that AEPAC has undertaken in the last 10 months. We believe that our activities, including lobbying Congress, the State Department, producing articles and op-eds, demonstrations, press releases, media activity, have had an impact and will have ongoing impact in co-shaping US political direction on Ethiopia. And lastly, number three, we are here to highlight the importance of funding AEPAC's continued work to impact Congress and US legislators. We need to back candidates who support us during their election time so that they can win as we continue to educate them. In order to do that, we need funds. I know we are all inundated with the cause of Ethiopia. The same people who support and back political movements in Ethiopia, such as those who are actively engaging in fighting Abiy's genocidal regime, the same people who are also funding and supporting efforts to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia are being asked again and again to support the struggle on this side of the Atlantic. But I can only emphasize that the effort here in the US is important to help the Ethiopian people reach their goals or our goals. This struggle takes place mostly in the halls of Congress, and for that, we need funds. So throughout this event today, my colleague Elias and Yerus will put our link in the chat so you can support us. Those of you who are members and your membership has lapsed, please feel free to go ahead and renew your memberships. Thank you for being here again and for your support. And now I would like to go over real quick over the agenda with you. Today's agenda, we have a very good lineup for you. Mesfin will do a summary. Mesfin Taganu, our chairperson, will do a summary in about 10 minutes, for about 10 minutes of AEPAC's activities. Then Deacon Yosef will do another 10 minutes on the US elections and the Ethiopian crisis. And we're very excited to partner with the ACC. This is where we are all headed. We should all be headed. Ethiopian organizations coming together, fighting for and standing for the same cause. Number three, Afar community and the current Ethiopian crisis. Ali will be speaking to us for about 10 minutes. Number four, AEPAC Youth Association. Lily Mitchell will also be presenting. And then AEPAC candidate endorsement and process and criteria with Guillaume Fasaha. And next, number six, the election landscape by Chris Drum, our lobbyist. And number seven, the Ethiopian Americans' active participation in voting help resolve the crisis in Ethiopia by Nabiyu Asfa. So this is the lineup that we have. And in between, we have two congressional representatives and legislators coming to speak to us, Sidney Kamlager from California and Gerald, oh my God, I forget his name. Yeah, from Pennsylvania will be speaking to us. Then we'll have a quick question and answer session, and we hope to get questions. And then comments only when people are invited to do comments. And we hope we are respectful and cognizant of time. If people get out of line, we will remove them from the Zoom. Okay, and lastly, there'll be a short closing remark from Mesfin. Okay. So, Elias, make sure you look for the Congresswoman, okay? Because I don't know, she will be coming within the next 10 minutes, I'm thinking.
Is she coming with number or name? I'll look for her.
Yeah, Sidney Kamlager, yeah. Okay, so before that, I'll just do a short intro about Mesfin, and I know most of you know him, but it's still good to know who are our speakers. Mesfin is a nationally recognized thought leader in pharmacy benefit management. He has over 25-year career, built a pharmacy benefit management company administering multi-billion-dollar transactions, offering next generation benefits to millions of people nationwide. He's an early pioneer and the pharmacy benefit management, and he has built one of the country's leading organizations, transforming it from near startup to an industry leader, which currently hires over 470 employees. Mesfin also established RX Paradigm Inc., a new entrant into the market to facilitate a paradigm shift in the PBM marketplace, which aims to influence the industry by employing a never before available level of transparency into drug pricing and reimbursement. So that is something which is of use to all of us. Mesfin is also a respected leader of the strong Ethiopian American community and spearheaded the establishment of AEPAC Public Affairs Committee with its headquarters in Delaware to help build a strong partnership between the US and Ethiopia based on the common interests and mutual benefits of the two countries through mobilization of Ethiopian American community members to engage in political and election process at both local and federal levels in the entire nation. Mesfin is also a human rights activist and a philanthropist. He's married to Nina Manale and is the father of two wonderful daughters. So Mesfin, I give you the stage.
Thank you, Wasi. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to speak to all of you. Thank you everyone for being here. I am going to go very quickly on AEPAC's last 9 months major activities. Now I'm going to do it both in English and Amharic. ሰዎች በአማርኛ የሚከታተሉ ሰዎች ስላሉ we are going to use both languages. So we'll get the slides up so that you can have follow my points when I speak in Amharic for those of you who only understand English. Now we can get the slides up, Yerus. So the as most of you remember, the Ethiopian American Public Affairs Committee AEPAC, when we started 2023 and 2024, the goal was to focus on business development, public-private investments, growing business in Ethiopia. እንደዛ ነበር ሀሳባችን። ያው ሁሉ ነገር ተቀይሮ ግማሽ ኢትዮጵያ ህዝብ ላይ ጦርነት የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት ስላወጀ ሁሉ ነገር ተቀይሮ then we started into ወደ fire fighting ተመለስን ማለት ነው። እና በዚህ ምክንያት we had to realign, refocus our priorities. So in the last 9 months, following over 76 meetings with different congressional leaders, local, national, there are some success stories I would like to report today. Indeed, for some of you or most of you who follow our activities on a regular basis, this may not be news to you, but for those of you who are joining us for the first time, and then for those who are following us online, this information might be new. Yeah, so የፊላደልፊያ ከተማ እንደዚሁም የሆሊውድ ከተማዎች የኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ያለውን ሁኔታ በመቃወም ለመጀመሪያ ጊዜ በጣም ጠንከር ያለ ሪዞሉሽን አሳልፈዋል። እነዚህ ሪዞሉሽኖች የፊላደልፊያ ከተማ እንደውም እዚህ ጋር እንደምታዩት ጠንከር ባለ ያለ ቋንቋ የተጠቀሙት እና the President and Congress of the United States should use every possible means at their command to examine the policy that recognizes and evaluates the political conditions that exist in Ethiopia with view to ensure the end of the shocking brutality of ethnocentric warfare in Ethiopia. የሚል ጠንካራ ቋንቋ ያለው ሪዞሉሽን አሳልፈው ለአሜሪካ ፕሬዚደንት እና ለኮንግረስ ተልኳል። ይሄውም እንግዲህ ብዙ የኤፓክ አባላት የኤፓክ በተጠናከረ ኤፈርት ባለበት እየተደረገ ነው። እንደዚሁም ሲቲ ኦፍ ዌስት ሆሊውድ እንደዚሁ ጠበቅ ያለ ሪዞሉሽን አሳልፈዋል እና የሲቲ ኦፍ ዌስት ሆሊውድ ደግሞ እነሱ ያሉት the city of West Hollywood calls on President Biden and his administration to advocate on an international scale for an immediate cessation of hostility and urge the government of Ethiopia to respect international human rights as well as advocate the necessity for providing and ensuring accessibility of humanitarian aid to the Ethiopian people or to the people of Ethiopia, particularly the people of the Amhara region. እነዚህ ሁለት ሪዞሉሽኖች ተላልፈው ፕሬዚደንቱና ኮንግሬስ ዴስክ ላይ የሚገኙ ሲሆን እንግዲህ ያለፈው 9 ወር ስራ ቀጥሎ ደግሞ ወደ ዩናይትድ ስቴትስ ኮንግሬስ ጠበቅ ያለ ቢል መተላለፍ የሚችልበት ስራ ላይ ፎከስ አድርገን ያለ ነው። እንግዲህ ይሄኛው ቢል በአጠቃላይ ኮንቴንቱን አነብላችኋለሁ። ምክንያቱ ይሄን ኮንቴንቱን ማነብላችሁ ቅድም ዋሲ እንዳለችው እነዚህ ሁሉ ስራዎች ሊሰሩ የሚችሉት በመተባበር ነው እና ብዙ ስራ እየተካሄደ እንደሆነ በማወቅ መተባበር እንዳለብንና አብረን መስራት እንዳለብን እንድታውቁት ለማለት ነው። እና ይህ የሶስተኛው እየተሰራበት ያለው ጠንከር ያለው ቢል በሃውስ ኦፍ ሪፕሬዘንታቲቭስ ቢል HRXXX ቁጥር ነምበር አልተሰጠውም። ኢትዮጵያን አካውንታቢሊቲ አክት በሚል ነው ስራው የተጀመረው። to hold accountable those who committed gross violations of internationally recognized human rights, war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and other atrocities in Ethiopia, thereby promoting democracy, stability, and good governance in Ethiopia. ሚሉ ሌጅስሌሽን ላይ ስራ እየሰራ ነው እና ያለፈው 9 ወር ብዙ አድካሚ ነበረ። አሁን በሚቀጥሉት ሳምንቶች በርካታ ስብሰባዎች ዋሽንግተን ዲሲ አሉ። የኤፓክ ሜምበርስ ከአካባቢውም ከየሀገሩም እየመጡ ፓርቲሲፔት ያደርጋሉ ማለት ነው። ይህ እንግዲህ ሌጅስሌሽን በሚመለከት የነበረው ሂደት ነው። ከዛ ቀጥሎ የአድሚኒስትሬሽኑን በሚመለከት የሚቀጥለው ስላይድ ላይ ብዙ አይነት ስራ ሲሰራ ቆይቷል። ይህን ሁላችሁም እንድታውቁት ኢንፎርሜሽኑን ለማቅረብ ፈልገን ነው እና በዚህ በአድሚኒስትሬሽኑን በሚመለከት ወይም አስተዳደሩን በሚመለከት ከብዙ ልምድ 2 ዓመት 3 ዓመት ህይወታችን ነው እዚህ ነገር ላይ ሽቅብ ቁልቁል ስንል አሰራሩን በውስጥ ያለውን አሰራር አውቆ ከአሰራሩ ሰዎች ጋር ፓርትነርሺፕ አስፈላጊ እንደሆነ ነው ሆኖ ነው ያገኘነው። ይሄንኑም በመረዳት the Bureau of Democracy and Human Rights and Labor የሚለው የስቴት ዲፓርትመንት አስፈጻሚ አካል ነው። ከነሱ ጋር the Office of International Religion and Freedom እንዲሁም ዲያስፖራ ኢንጌጅመንት ኦፊስ የሚባሉት ኦፊሶች ጋር የቅርብ የስራ ግንኙነት ተፈጥሯል። ከኤፓክ የሚመጣውን ኮሚኒኬሽን በሙሉ ያገኛሉ። ከኤፓክ የአሜሪካን ኢትዮጵያንስ ድምፅ ምንድን ነው የሚለው ነገርም ጥያቄ ሲመጣ በቅርብ ግንኙነት የማድረግ ሁኔታ ተፈጥሯል ማለት ነው። ይሄ እንደ ትልቅ አኮምፕሊሽመንት ነው የምንመዘግበው። ባለፈው ጊዜ እንዳስረዳ ነው በሰፊው እንዳቀረብ ነው 2 በጣም ኢምፖርታንት ብሪፊንጎች ነበሩ። የኮንግሬሽናል ብሪፊንጉ ወደ አመቱ መጨረሻ ላይ የተደረገው ነው። በሱ መሰረት በመሆን ነው አሁን ቅድም ያቀረብኩት የሌጅስሌሽን መሰረቱ የተጣለው እነዛ ስብሰባዎች ላይ በቀረቡት መረጃዎች በመመስረት ሲሆን እንግዲህ የኮንግሬሽናል ብሪፊንጉም የዩኤስ አይአርኤፍ የሚባል ወይም የዩናይትድ ስቴትስ ኮሚሽን ኦፍ ኢንተርናሽናል ሪሊጂየስ ፍሪደም የሚባለው ኮሚቴ ከፍተኛ ፓወርፉል ኮሚቴ ነው። ለእነሱም ብሪፊንግ ቀርቦ በዛው መሰረት የሚያስፈልጉ ዶክመንቶች ለሌጅስሌሽን የሚጠየቁ ስራዎች በሙሉ በየኮሚቴዎቹ ስለሚሰሩ ይሄ ስራ ሲሰራ ቆይቷል ማለት ነው። እንግዲህ ይሄ በአጠቃላይ ባጭሩ ለህግ አውጪዎችን በሚመለከት ኦን ሌጅስሌቲቭ እና ኦን አድሚኒስትሬቲቭ ፓርት ነው። ወደ ሚዲያ አካባቢ ፕሬስ ከቨሬጅ ላይ ባለፈው ጊዜ ኢየሩስ ጎቱ ኔክስት ስላይድ ብዙ አይነት ስራዎች ሲሰሩ ቆይተዋል ባለፈው ጊዜ። አሁን የአሁኑን ሁኔታ ቢመለከት ኢንተርናሽናል ፕሬስ ከቨሬጁ እንደሚገባው እንዳልሆነ በመረዳት የተከተልነው ስትራቴጂ ከዋና ዋና ሚዲያዎች ጋር ቅርበት መፍጠር እና በተቻለ መጠን እንደ ኦፔድ አይነት ነገሮች ላይ የኢትዮጵያን ሁኔታ ማስረዳት መቻል ነው። እና ወደሚቀጥለው ስላይድ እንሂድ። ኢየሩስ የሶስት እንግዲህ ይሄ ሂል በሚባለው ከሚጋለው ፓብሊኬሽን ጋር የክሬዲብል የሆነ የኤፓክ ሪሌሽንሽፕ መፍጠር ተችሏል። የምናቀርባቸውን ኢንፎርሜሽኖች ወይም አስተያየቶች ፓብሊሽ በማድረግ ይሄው ለአሜሪካን ሕዝብና ለአሜሪካን ፓብሊክ የሚደርስበት መንገድ ያልተወራው ወሬ ለፓብሊክ እንዲደርስ እየተደረገ ያለበት ሁኔታ ነው። በዚህ ላይ ስለ መራዊ ማሳከር እንዲሁም የኤትኒክ ስትራይፍ ኢትዮጵያ ላይ እያመጣ ያለውን መዓት ለማስረዳት ተችሏል። ብዙ ሪስፖንሶችም ጠቃሚ መልእክቶች ማግኘት ችለናል። እና እንግዲህ ያለው ሊቭ ኤንድ ለርን እንደሚባለው ያለን ኤክስፒሪየንሳችን ባለን ኤክስፒሪየንስ ይሄን አይነቶቹን ሁኔታዎች ከሌሎችም ፐብሊኬሽኖች ጋር የመፍጠሩን ሙከራ የመቀጠል ስራ ይሰራል ማለት ነው። እንግዲህ ከዛ በመቀጠል ወደ ምንድን ነው ዋትስ ኔክስት ዋትስ ካሚንግ አፕ የሚለውን ነገር ልበልና ከዛ ወደ ዋስ ይመለሳቸዋለሁ። እንደምታውቁት በአሁኑ ጊዜ የአምባሳደር መሲንጋ የዩናይትድ ስቴትስ አምባሳደር የኢትዮጵያ የዩናይትድ ስቴትስ አምባሳደር ባደረገው የፖሊሲ ንግግር የአሜሪካን ፖሊሲ ፕሮ ኢትዮጵያ ነው ያሉት። አቋማችን እኛ የኢትዮጵያን ሕዝብ ደህንነት ነው የምናራምደው ነው። ሁላችሁንም እንደምታውቁት ባለፉት ዓመታት ከአንዴም ከቲፒኤልኤፍን ሳፖርት በማድረግ በኋላም ደግሞ ዲክቴቶሪያል ኤትኖሴንትሪክ ሪጅሞች ጋር ፓርትነር በማድረግ ወይም ሁኔታዎችን እያዩ እንዳላዩ በመሆን ለጥፋት ተባባሪ ሆናችኋል የሚል ቅሬታ ስናሰማ ነበር። አሁን እሱን ሰምተን የሚሉት እሱን ሰምተን እናስተካክላለን፣ ፖሊሲያችንም ይስተካከላል ነው። እንግዲህ ይሄንን ሲሉ እኛ ፖሊሲያችንን እናስተካክላለን፣ እናንተ ደግሞ የዲያስፖራ ውስጥ ያላችሁ ኢትዮጵያውያን የራሳችሁ ኃላፊነት አለባችሁ፣ እናንተ ማድረግ ያለባችሁን ደግሞ ማድረግ አለባችሁ። ምንድን ነው እሱ የሚበጀው ነገር መሆን የሚገባው ነገር ምንድን ነው? የሳይለንት ማጆሪቲ የሚባለው ኢትዮጵያዊ አንድ ጋር ሆኖ አድቫንስ የሚያደርገው ፖዚቲቭ ፖሊሲ አክሽኖች ምንድን ናቸው? እና እነሱን ከእናንተ ጋር መስማት እንፈልጋለን ነው የእነሱም አቋም። ስለዚህ እንግዲህ አሁን ይሄ የሀሳብ የመወያያ ሀሳብ ነው እዚህ ጋር ያቀረብነው። ከእናንተ በኢሜይል በኤፓክ ኢሜይል ወይም በእያንዳንዳችን ኮንታክት ኢንፎርሜሽን ብዙዎቻችሁ አላችሁ። ከሌላችሁም ዌብሳይቱ ላይ ኢንፎርሜሽኑ አለ። እና የዲያስፖራ ሮል ምንድን ነው የሚሆነው? ምንድን ነው ሮሉና ኮንታክታችን ምንድን ነው? ምንድን ነው ያለን ኃላፊነት? ከዛ በኋላስ ኢንተርናሽናል ኮሚኒቲው እና በዩኤስ ገቨርንመንት ምን እንዲያደርግ ነው ኤክስፔክት የምናደርገው? የፕሮብሌሞችን እናንተ ብቻ አድርጉ ማለት አይቻልም። እነሱ የውጭ መንግስቶች ናቸው፣ ማድረግ የሚችሉት ነገር አለ። ዋናውን ሸክም መሸከም ያለበት ግን ሀገሬው ባለጉዳዩ ነው። እና የኛ ኃላፊነት ምንድን ነው? የዩኤስ ገቨርንመንት እና ኢንተርናሽናል ኮሚኒቲ ሮሉ ምንድን ነው? ከዛ ሜካኒዝም ኦፍ ኤንጌጅመንቱ እንዴት ነው የሚሆነው? ፕራክቲካል የሆነው ለኢትዮጵያ ሕዝብ ያለንን ኃላፊነት የአዲሱን የአሜሪካ ፖሊሲ በማገናዘብ ማገዝ የምንችለው እንዴት ነው? እና ይህንን ሁኔታ በሚመለከት ባለፈው ታስታውሱ እንደሆነ የኮንስቲቱሽን ሪፎርም ትራንዚሽን የሚል ኮንሴፕት ኢንተርቴን አድርገን ማይቻል ስራ ሆኖ ስላገኘ ነው ተቋርጧል። እና ሲሚላር ፕላትፎርም ተዘጋጅቶ ይሄ ዲስከሽን የሚደረግበትን ሁኔታ የማቀናጀት ፕላን አለን። ይሄኛው ኮንሲስተንት ነው ከኤፓክ ፖሊሲ ጋር ፕሮ ኢትዮጵያ ፖሊሲ አድቫንስ ማድረግ ማለት ነው። ሀሳብ ያላችሁን የምሰጡትን ሀሳብ በሙሉ በጉጉት እንጠብቃለን። እንግዲህ ሀገሩ የሁሉም ችግር ነው፣ የሁላችንም ፕሮብሌም ነው ካል እንደዚህ አይነት አጋጣሚዎች ሲገኙ በመተባበር በደንብ በተቀናጀ ሁኔታ ለፍጻሜ የሚደርስ ስራ መስራት ይገባል ብለን እናምናለን። እና ያው እንደዚህ እሱ ነው። የመጨረሻ ላይ ያለው ስላይድ እንደገና በአሁኑ ጊዜ የሌጅስሌቲቭ ኮንሰልታንቶቻችን የሚቀጥሉት እና የሊጋል ኮንሰልታንት ካምፓኒዎች ፈርሙ እሱን የሎ ፈርማችን ከመጀመሪያውም ጀምሮ ሲቋቋም የሪት ያደረግነው ነው። የኤሌክሽን ቦርድ ኮሚቴን ህግ በመከተል ስለሆነ ስራ የሚሰራው እነዚህ ኪፓስ ኢንቼክ እንዲሁም ክረሽ ድራም በኋላ ላይ ከሱ ትሰማላችሁ። ሌጅስሌቲቭ ኮንሰልታንት ነው እና ይሄንን የብዙውን የሪዞሉሽኖቹን ግብ ለማድረስ ከፍተኛ አስተዋጽኦ ያደረገ ሰው ነው እና እነሱን በድጋሚ ኢንትሮዲውስ ለማድረግ ነው። ይህ የሆነ ዋሲ ያለኝ በጣም እናመሰግናለን ስለመጣችሁ። ሉኪንግ ፎርወርድ ፎር ሞር ፕሮዳክቲቭ ኮንቨርሴሽን።
ታንክ ዩ መስፍን፣ አመሰግናለሁኝ። እና እንግዲህ እንዳያችሁ እነዚህ ሰዎች ኮስት አስ ማኒ እና እሱን እሱንም አስቡበት። መረዳት አለበት፣ መሰራት አለበት። ሁላችንም የምናምንበት ነገር ነው ብዬ አምናለሁኝ። እና ደግሞ ምንም ነገር አንደር ኤስቲሜት አታደርጉ። እርዳታ ማድረግ ከፈለጋችሁ we appreciate everything። አሁን ወደሚቀጥለው ስፒከር ከመሄዴ በፊት ኮንግረስውመን ካምላገር መታለች። ሲድኒ is she in the room anywhere? ኤልያስ ኢየሩስ ልታዩልኝ ትችላላችሁ? የሚታያችሁ ነገር
I'm looking for her. Number no, like I don't see her. I don't see her right now. Years I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay. አሁን እንግዲህ ኔክስት ስፒከር ዲያቆን ዮሴፍ ነበር፣ ነገር ግን ሌት ሆናለሁ ብለዋል እና is he in? is ዲያቆን ዮሴፍ in? I didn't see him come in. Probably ትንሽ ቆይ ይሆናል።
4 o'clock ላይ ነው ያለው።
Okay. All right. ስለዚህ Ali is here. Yeah, Ali from the Afar community. Could you please unmute Ali? እና ፒን ብታደርግልኝ ደስ ይለኛል ኤልያስ።
Okay, sure. I've asked him to unmute himself.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah. Now, let's.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Why is my time to speak? And I was
Good afternoon. I am so sorry I did not get your bio in time. I would have done a wonderful introduction because we so appreciate that you came here. So it is time to speak. It is your time to speak. You have 10 minutes. So please proceed.
Can I speak about what's going on in Ethiopia or speak about the American elections?
Well, we were thinking, we're connecting what's going on to Ethiopia with the elections here. So we were thinking you would maybe talk to us a little bit of what's happening in Ethiopia, especially in particular with the Afar community, because it doesn't get a lot of coverage, and connect that,
Thank you for your concern. When you come to election, of course, I am, what we are not able to do back home, it was a a chance for us to fully participate in American democracy, regardless our feeling, regardless political party was going on. It's all of us must do everything in our power
Yes.
and to vote in election, because we live here. It's about our life, the future of our children and grandchildren.
Yes.
But when we come to Ethiopia, I believe now it's not a secret. The country is in the middle of a civil war. We are at the crossroad, and there is ongoing conflict, skirmishes every corner of Ethiopia. But the big problem, like you just said, that what's happening in Afar region and not in the Afar regional state and not covered by the diaspora, by Ethiopian national TV, and even little known by the Afar. For most of us, the political climate and security and of war started 2.5 years ago. Before the Afar, it's ongoing for 6 years. Since December 2018, there's ongoing conflict, even while I'm speaking now, except today. Today is kind of peaceful day, but even yesterday was hundreds of people was killed. This a conflict is happening between the Afar regional state and Somali regional state. Both are part of PP political party, but both are Ethiopian. Both of them receive budget and military equipment by federal government. Despite that, is a silence, is total absence of the intervention of federal government. And of course, like I mentioned, there is ongoing conflict in all over Ethiopia. But the particularity of the Afar regional state, there are a foreign government, Djibouti government, Somali government, are involved. The Afar security, the Afar forces have a document and have even prisoner, POW, in Asaita prison. And when we come to advocacy in our part with the State Department, with the U.S. Embassy in Addis, we inform so many times, but there's little interest so far about the conflict going on in Afar region. I would like all my brothers and sisters who is in this room and others who will listen to us to help us to get out of this cycle of violence, and especially a foreign intervention. Now there are even weapons coming from Somalia. There are weapons coming from Djibouti. There are even drones as involved. And my last talk with the embassies in Addis, that I inform regularly, I also inform Nora Dempsey in DC, and even on the way, made myself to meet some of them in Washington DC to highlight, to speak about the ongoing crisis. Somehow it's kind of a forgotten case, the Afar, internally and externally. Despite we live in the corridor, despite we live at the Red Sea, the Afar have been seen by most of people, just the road coming from Djibouti to Addis, road coming from Assab to Addis. We want us to see it a little bit differently. We pay our tribute. We contribute to the defense of Ethiopia. Man, time after time, historically, even recently. And we are, as a diaspora, as an Afar region state, we want to build a bridge between all Ethiopian people. We are the only region where all Ethiopian, as we speak, live peacefully in harmony with others. But we want to push to a state department level, at the embassy level, to at least look at it. You know, a special envoy, Mike Hammer, we requested a meeting several times. If any time, can we please sit down and, you know, and present our case? What we're looking for is a peace and a stability. And retire once for all AK-47, because we are losing precious life day after day. Maybe in the last 6 years, since December 2018, until maybe 10,000 people die in the corridor, in Undafo, in Gadamaitu, in Adaitu. There's the corridor going from Samara through Hawash to Addis. I don't think Afar alone will be able to resolve the issue of the Afar regional state. If we've been attacked by foreign forces and coming from different country, this is a sole responsibility of Ethiopian federal government. It's also the responsibility of Afar regional state to present the case to federal government. Time after time, there was some type of negotiation. And recently, the Islamic Council was involved to negotiate between Afar and the Somali. So far, there is no result. But for us, the immediate emergency is not the development, is not education, is not building road, is about the safety of men and women living in this region. How are we going to be able to stop the killing? We put all resources as a diaspora, as the American government, our embassy, a special envoy, to the conflict between federal government and the Tigray regional state. And we're very involved at the time. I even used to receive a phone call day and night about what needs to be done, how we can open the corridor in order to take food for the Tigray region. But since then now, no word been seen. We're not even invited anymore to a meeting. I'm grateful to you guys today invite us and listen what we have to say. But again, with all your support, all together, and I hope and we have a capacity and knowledge to build a better Ethiopia for tomorrow. It's not only I'm calling.
You're on mute, Ali.
Can you guys hear me now? Yeah. I'm not only calling for peace resolution only in Afar. I'm calling for all Ethiopian because all life matters to me. It can happen in it can happen in Tigray, it can happen in Oromia, it can happen in the Amar region, in Somali, in Afar, Benishangul. It doesn't matter where to happen. All life matter. And I want to thank all of you for listening to me. And I hope this message will resonate to all of you. And we can pass on to others. And myself, I am waiting to go to Addis. And I hope I will be able to meet, embassy staff, even the ambassador, and to talk one-on-one, And I want to be part of the peace shoulder. I want to build the peace. I want to build a bridge between communities. Thank you so much for your time, guys. And thank you for inviting me. And God bless you all. God bless Ethiopia.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. That was really very, very appropriate and very moving. And definitely the Afar people are, part and parcel of the Ethiopian people and the Ethiopian solution. There can be no solution if there's no solution to what's happening to the Afar people. And I hope that we can connect and work more closely together, that your issue is our issue. That's Ethiopia. So thank you for reaching out to all of us. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. At this time, from Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager's office, I think, hold on, let me see. Joanna is here. Is the Congresswoman in? Here? Can you unmute Joanna?
Hi, good afternoon. She's not in yet, but she will be soon. I will message Wasi. I'll send you a text message as soon as she's able to log in.
Okay, so
Wasi, Deacon Joseph has entered.
Okay, very good. So we'll have one more speaker, Joanna, and then we'll just text me and then we'll have her come on, okay? Thank you so much. Okay, I am really, really excited to be introducing Deacon Joseph because he is, one of the pillars of the Ethiopian, the struggle for democracy for Ethiopians. And I'm just truly excited that we are able to work together because we are similar and we are one in what we want. And this is the example we want to set for all of the Ethiopian movements here and organizations, that we come together. And when we come together, we will be taken seriously and we can also bring about solution for Ethiopia. So I'll just introduce just a short bio of Deacon Joseph. Deacon Joseph Romano Tafari is a businessman who is engaged in humanitarian work, advocacy, civic engagement, and community support. Born in Ethiopia, social and political activism forced him to flee to Khartoum, Sudan in 1976. Here he met his wife, Hanna Bozorg, and successfully organized the Ethiopians who were exiled to Sudan to have the full protection of the UN Refugee Commission. Arriving in Colorado in the late 70s, Deacon Yosef helped in the refugee resettlement effort of Ethiopians from Kenya and Sudan, which was primarily managed by the Catholic Charities Program. In 1992, Deacon Yosef joined the Ethiopian community in Denver in organizing the St. Mary Ethiopian Tawahado Gishan Mariam Orthodox Church. He's an ordained deacon. From 2000 to 2007, he worked as a project manager in constructing one of the largest Ethiopian Orthodox churches built outside of Ethiopia. Deacon Yosef's commitment to civic engagement and advocacy for human rights, good governance, and public diplomacy has been unwavering throughout his life. He is one of the founders of the Ethiopian Drought Relief Aid of Colorado, an advocacy group working with the United Nations in bringing awareness and much needed aid to the victims of the Ethiopian famine. Deacon Yosef is also the co-founder and chairman of Ethiopian American Civic Council, which was established in 2016. EACC was created on the significant pillars of civic participation, a yield collective political capital for Ethiopian Americans. As a diaspora group, it encourages participation in crucial US elections by providing voter guidelines to effectuate the interests of Ethiopia. So that is our sister organization. And like I said, we are very happy to have you here, Deacon Yosef. So could you pin Deacon Yosef and unmute his
He's pinned in. He's a co-host. Deacon Yosef, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, greeting to. Thank you for inviting me today. Say, Thomas, my colleagues, my dearest and most respected individuals. It is an honor, and I thank God for us to have the opportunity to work together, advocate together, and that's, like you said, is truly what is asked of us, and hopefully it will pave the way for other organizations to do the same. Having said that, I apologize for my delay because of some flight issues that I was facing. What I like to speak, and these are things that obviously that you might have discussed already, but true to my heart, we as diaspora, one of the remaining, probably the only asset that we have is how we can advocate our interest in where we find ourselves, whether it's North America or in Europe and somewhere else, is to really making sure that we civically get engaged and that we pave the way for our not only the fresh immigrants from our country, but also for the children that are born and raised here in the United States. We bring a big asset, provided we get to use it. And I want to go back to about 8 years ago, as how Ethiopian American Civic Council was formed here in Colorado. That immediately we associated ourselves with some really key member of Congress, primarily Congressman Mike Kaufman from Colorado. This happened at the time, shortly after what happened in Erecha, that the Oromo civilians were slaughtered by then regime, the Tigray People Liberation Front. And we made sure that the congressman understands that these human rights violations that were taking place at the time was done through the use and the privilege that the United States have granted to TPLF. And they use the money and the weapons to basically slaughter our people. And he made a pledge that if he were to be reelected back to Congress, that he will help write legislation to ban such a use of military and financial assistance from the United States. And we in turn pledge back to him that, in fact, if this is what we are to expect, that we will work to make sure that he gets reelected. And that became the foundation of how our relationship with the congressman, that essentially we helped elect. And he gave us that tribute because in the district that he was in, Hillary Clinton as a presidential candidate won by thousands and thousands of votes, and he won by a substantial margin, which he attributed was because of the Ethiopian community. This ushered a new chapter in our life, in our psyche. Subsequently, he went on to help drafting the House Resolution HR 128, probably the only consequential African resolution ever passed in Congress, that 2 years later helped and contributed to the downfall of the TPLF regime that had a lethal grip on Ethiopia's politics for 27 years. And ever since that time, we have been engaged further to make sure that we support candidates that represent the interests of Ethiopia. In which case, we made sure that we don't necessarily align ourselves by party affiliation. We don't say we support all Republicans. We don't say we support all Democrats. Only candidates within these parties and then independents that gives us that political capital to motivate us in order to vote or support their candidacy. And I would just like to conclude by saying this is an extremely important point to make, because when HR 128 passed, we've been able to gather about 200 and some odd numbers of co-sponsor to that resolution. The people, the member of Congress that supported that bill is almost half and half. A slight majority of Democrats, but significant members of the Republican member of Congress also co-sponsored it. So I like to take our cue, especially now, that if you looked at the Jewish American lobbying effort and the Cuban American lobbying effort, regardless of their political interest or the interests that they represent, are diametrically opposite. The Jewish American path does not affiliate itself to any political party, only to those candidates who favor the interests of the state of Israel. They say that openly. The Cuban Americans have aligned themselves to one political party.
Sorry, Deacon Yosef, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The Congresswoman is only here for a very short time, so she has she has to leave soon. So if you could just summarize real quick so that I can have the Congresswoman on.
Yeah, and therefore, it is a great lesson that these two communities give us a roadmap how we can be able to harvest our own political path in order to benefit the interests we represent. I want to thank everyone, and we should make this a really model for us to continue to work together with Wase, and thank you for waiting for me and giving me the opportunity to address this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I had to interrupt you like I did, but there will be more days together for us. So with this, I'm just so honored to introduce Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager. She's a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and she's from our district in California, District 37. She is on the House Natural Resources Committee. She's a co-chair of Congressional Brazil Caucus and a whip and outreach co-chair in the Democratic Women's Caucus. And she aspires to lead by prioritizing land, economic justice, art, and democracy. Through her work in Foreign Affairs Committee, Congresswoman Kamlager was able to help secure the release of her constituent, Vivian Hernandez. Additionally, she has passed a grateful act to ensure that locally employed U.S. Embassy staff, especially those from countries in the developing world, can immigrate to the U.S. as promised after an honorable career of service. She is an incredible and fierce advocate for the African diaspora. I know she really pushed her way into getting on the subcommittee on Africa. She has leveraged her role on the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa to establish the Congressional Black Caucus Institute's Global African Diaspora Initiative and secure its special consultative status with the United Nations Economic Council. She's a special friend of Ethiopia, and I have had the honor of, she invited Ambassador Hammer to talk to us. She almost, I won't say forced him to come here, but she almost did. And so she has been a total advocate for us, for the Ethiopian community, and especially for the Amhara people. I mean, she has lent us her ear, and we hopefully that she joins the Ethiopian caucus because she is a strong, vibrant leader. And whoever wrote senator, I'd love her to be senator, but she is the Congresswoman, Sydney Kamlager. So Sydney, with this, please give us a few words of your wisdom.
Well, thank you so much for the and speak with you. And also, I think it said it on here because on my it says yeah, I'm going to change that. You're right. I
thought we did that. I'm sorry.
The state senator. I know. No, don't even worry. Don't even worry. But I do want to just publicly thank Wasi for our support, but also for continuing to educate me and invite me to spaces and places where I can learn. As was mentioned, I'm a first-time Congresswoman. I represent the 37th Congressional District, which also includes Little Ethiopia, among so many other diverse communities and neighborhoods across Los Angeles. I do sit on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and subcommittees are Western Hemisphere and Africa. As you know, there is intense chaos and division in Congress, and it is more partisan than even on television. I'm so grateful that this community, this Ethiopian community, is aware, it is engaged, it is active, and I just also encourage you to continue to learn about the various in Congress, to be aware of what your goals are and how sometimes you may be used in ways that even you don't understand. You know, I know for a fact that Africa is I think one of the most powerful and important and critical continents on this 70% of its population are under the age of 30. And by 2050, it will almost comprise half of the globe's population. So we have an incredible opportunity in front of us to partner in both in diplomatic, in development, and in defense ways that will really promote democracy. I also understand that democracy means different things in communities, and so how we just continue to mutual with that definition is really important. But Africa as a continent has an immense strategic importance and brings geopolitical heft. And so we should be seriously investing in our partnerships with African countries. Ethiopia is a giant on the, especially in the Horn of Africa, and is a major recipient of U.S. development and humanitarian aid appropriated by Congress. And despite the heft that Ethiopia has in the region, it doesn't receive the focus or attention or resources that it deserves, this majority. In the House Foreign Affairs Committee, we have full committee hearing, and then in 9 hearings, Africa subcommittee, was focused on Ethiopia, and I asked rewind the 10C, what deliverables of that hearing from the chair of that committee. It's not been full committee hearing the entire time that I have been in Congress. And given the importance of the continent, given the number of conflict areas that are popping up, given the questions that begin to arise around, tensions, around innovation, BRICS, all of these things around relationships with and China, it warrants a hearing in the full committee. And I, as a member of the minority, cannot get a hearing. It has to come from the chairs. So I recognize that folks care about their issue more than they care about the party. I appreciate that. And I ask you that if you do care about Ethiopia, and I know that you do, then push back on the chairs who have gavel and have the power, and demand that they have hearings on Ethiopia so that you can get questions answered that matter to you. That is what the administration looks for. And they look to see how many people show up in things. They look to what the issues are that are going to be discussed. We have a majority that doesn't seem to care about the continent, that is supporting the presumptive nominee for their party, who had zero foreign policy focused on the continent of Africa, who has continued to say derogatory things about immigrants from the continent, should really motivate you to question their agenda. I personally think it is unconscionable that we had to wait almost a year to get PEPFAR reauthorized, because this majority interested in reauthorization PEPFAR, and they're certainly not interested in how it has been able to help over the past century on the continent. I think it's unconscionable that the majority proposed draconian cuts to the international budget that would have been catastrophic for U.S. engagement abroad, because those kinds of cuts are fundamentally with the ability of the United States to be a partner with the community. As Wasi mentioned, I pushed the ambassador to show up in the district for you all and to answer questions. And we saw movement in their policy as a result. I do not have a problem. I do not have a problem with asking administration to show up and talk to community and answer the tough questions and figure out a way to be supportive of the Amhara and recognize the brutality that has befallen that community. But it's also hard for me to digest narratives that suggest that this Republican Party cares about Ethiopia and or cares about the continent of Africa when they refuse to appropriate funds that would support development, that would support defense, that would even recognize a Trump. How many resolutions have the Republicans put forth that deal with the challenges that you all are talking about? Zero. And so as we move through 2024, I just ask to tend to go to the folks that we know, open the door and sit down with us and talk with us on our side, and we push them to do more because they showed up and they've done some. And I appreciate that. That's human nature. But this Congress, the Republicans have the gavels. They are in the majority. They are the ones that are able to set the hearing agendas. And they care more about discussions about China and than they do about what is going on in countries across the continent of Africa. And I think that skirts real issues that you all care about. So I always open door. I had an event just a couple of weeks ago. When Lucy calls, I answer. She knows that. I tell the truth. You know, I push along with you all every single time.
Okay.
And of the 9 hearings that we have had, only 1 has been on Ethiopia. And I just ask that you all look back at the transcripts to say, okay, what did we get out of that? And oftentimes those hearings are designed to rail at the witnesses rather than to get at real answers, because Republicans are interested in finding ways to attack Biden. And that would be good for TV or for whatever they're trying to post, but it is not for people who actually care about solutions. And so what are the policies that you all want to see coming out of the Biden administration? And how can we elevate those issues and have more Democrats and some Republicans talk about those things that they see? I have been fortunate enough to travel to a number of countries and homework when they why they don't always want to see me, because I am always talking about different kinds of that we have and what we should be doing to more meaningfully engage with the continent, and also to and open to the challenges that we are hearing from the country as it relates to how we are responding to crises on the ground over there. And we have to be as open to hearing those criticisms as we are to try solutions. So I know YC knows that I have a hard stop, but I just appreciate you all allowing me to come by. And I want you all to know that I am your partner, willing always to work with you all and cry with you and fight
Yes.
with you and push with you. But I want you to be very clear about how you all are being used on the other side. And it may be okay to have that happen just so you can raise the visibility of your issues, but if you're going to walk with them, you better get something back. And that's not happening in city, and that is not happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you go, Sydney, I really, really want to thank you for your support, because you have faced everyone. It doesn't matter who it was, and even if it was your party, when you saw that it was not right, you have addressed this issue of our people and the oppression, for instance, that was happening with the Amhara people. So I personally completely trust you and know that you will carry our voice. And as we educate you, you're also educating us. And I thank you for that. And we thank you for that. And so, like I said, hopefully we see you in the Ethiopian caucus. Hopefully.
Yes, well, I'm going to continue. I stay on the committee, and I push that chair all the time. I go to him and I say, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing, and now I know he doesn't like that always, but whatever. But I tell him, and I tell my and I tell You know, how come we're not spending more time? I tell the administration, how come I tell everybody, do not
Yes.
relegate this continent and the issues and the conflicts that are happening on this continent to the last 5 minutes of a meeting. Shame on you. Because if you are trying to fight some of these other demons that are really trying to attack our democracy and our defense, then we have to have more meaningful engagements with the constituencies of the diaspora that are here. So make sure that that is manifest with our partners on the continent. So I say at the time, I'm a broken record, but I want you all to know that I don't like when people try to use y'all and
Okay.
act like
Thank you.
they're with you, and then they don't have no receipts.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Sydney.
you.
Thank you so much. And
Wasi,
now,
Representative Jared Solomon from Pennsylvania has joined.
yes, I saw his name. Thank you, Nabi. Thank you for telling me. And welcome, Representative Gerald Solomon. Chris Drum is going to do the introductions. Chris, could you please introduce the representative? Thank you.
Thank you for that opportunity. Jared Solomon is my friend. He's also become a great friend of the Ethiopian American community. He is the sponsor of HR 262 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Jared's charism, his core belief, what brought him to community involvement and to the Pennsylvania State House and beyond, is the notion, the idea that ordinary people can make a difference. That being said, Jared Solomon is anything but ordinary. He grew up in a neighborhood called Castor Gardens here in Philadelphia. I know this is a national organization, but he went from Castor Gardens to Swarthmore College, which is quite a leap, and subsequently attended law school at Villanova. A military veteran, he chairs the House Veterans Affairs Committee. And again, he's quite an extraordinary person and has really pushed the wheel for the Ethiopian American community. And we look forward to the passage of HR 262 and Jared being elevated to higher offices. And with that, I'll pass the baton to my friend, Representative Jared Solomon.
Chris, thank you so much. For some in Northeast Philly, it was a step down going from Castor Gardens to Swarthmore College. But it's a pleasure to be with you all. You, not only is Chris a friend, but he's the absolute best. He actually comes to my office to check in, to see how things are going. He is relentless in pushing the agenda of your community and ensuring that our resolution gets to the finish line. So he's a friend and an ally to me, but I think most importantly, an ally to your community. So it's interesting that we're having this call today to talk about voting, because today I had my National Guard service. And as Chris mentioned, I used to be in the Army and now I'm in the National Guard. And the reason that I decided to go into the military was really because of my family. My great-grandparents escaped religious persecution in Russia for their religious beliefs, and they came to seek freedom, religious freedom, raise their family in Northeast Philadelphia, sustain a business, grow their business right here, 3 blocks from where I'm sitting, from where my wife and I live today. And then my grandfather would sort of carry that mantle of freedom and a fight for freedom by fighting in both the African and the European theaters during World War II. So this sense that we do whatever we can to preserve and expand and always rework and re-envision the freedom in which we hold dear is something that's very important to me. So when I see on the recent election day that we had in Philadelphia, we had 19% turnout. 19% of registered voters in Philadelphia decided to register their voice, register their vote, and try and promote the freedoms in which my grandfather protected by going downrange and serving us here in our country and beyond. That is worrisome. I represent the most diverse community in the Commonwealth. Your community is a big part of that. Wherever you are on the political spectrum, to me, when it comes to the protection and when it comes to enshrining our freedoms, we need to all be rowing in the same direction, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, that we register our voice, that we enshrine and lift up the freedoms that we have, and ensure that we vote. And your community can set an example in Philadelphia and beyond in this upcoming election by ensuring that everyone in your community votes and tells others that this election, there's no choice but to make sure they exercise their freedom and vote in November. It's an honor to be with you today. Of course, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Mesfin, shall we take a few questions?
If there are questions, yeah, we can take one before he leaves. We can take one or two.
Yeah.
You are on mute, Chris.
Jared, how can a smaller community amplify its impact at the ballot box? Is it through activity, through fundraising? How do we become a bigger deal? How do we punch beyond or above our weight?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of politicians and gaining a voice, I mean, I think, Chris, you're spot on in terms of resources. You know, elected officials are relatively easy. People who are in touch with us build coalitions with us. We build relationships, and then we want to find ways to work to advance a mutually beneficial agenda. The fact is that with a lot of elected officials, we don't have a lot of communities like yours that really want to build that type of coalition. So the type of your work you're doing is critical. Let me give you an example. When I beat a 42-year incumbent in 2016, I registered 500 new voters.
Wow.
The vast majority of those voters were new immigrants, right? So most people have written folks off. They didn't think that they were citizens, that they could not vote, and folks were just wrong. If you take this election to both drive resources and drive votes in terms of registering and then ensuring those people are not just registered, but get to the polling place, you will completely build a new, bigger, bolder coalition, because very few groups, in fact, I can't think of many or any, are doing that type of work.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Thank you, Jared.
Of course.
Yeah, you know, as it's always, it's a pleasure to see you, Gerald. You know, as we always want you to be, you know, our governor here in Pennsylvania, our senator following that, and maybe the president of the United States. So that's our plan for you. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Anytime, anywhere.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you
next,
all.
Thank you. Thank you. So next we have Lily Mitchell Uvanchi, and she's going to talk about the AEPAC Youth Association. Lily was born in Addis Ababa, and she came to the US to pursue college. She studied first computer sciences, then nursing. Currently, she's a leader at one of the top medical device clinical research company. She is married and she has 3 children. Her passion is giving back and making a difference. She and her family are highly involved in volunteering in Ethiopia. Her daughter Lydia is the president at an NGO she founded, United to Rebuild Better Ethiopia. The NGO has 2 near-completed schools and health center in Debre Sina, Ethiopia. I just have to interject something in here. I mean, girl power. I mean, women, we talk and then we also do things. So I love that. Nothing against men, but I just had to interject that. Political activity plus humanitarian hands-on. That's
Right.
really nice. Lily is also a part of the APAC Youth Committee, and she will be sharing about the group plan and accomplishment. Lily, go ahead.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Wasi, for the introduction and also for giving me this opportunity to speak with everyone. It's a great pleasure. Like Wasi said, I'm a member of the APAC Youth Committee, and I'm going to speak about the group and what we have accomplished so far, and just hope that people can join us. So I want to make sure that I share what we have done and what we have planned for in the near future. So going to the next slide. So the group was formed in less than 6 months, actually. And as you can see on the screen, the APAC Youth Committee, like Wasi said, is a group of strong women. I work side by side with amazing, talented women. They've done so many great things in their own way within their community. But we got together and we created this group. As you can see, it's myself, Mimi Tasema, Jerusalem Kibret, and Faven Brook. We do work under the leadership of, under the guidance of the APAC leadership. We do have the advisory board that helps us just navigate different things. The APAC uses a subgroup within APAC. It is to create a network of young Ethiopian American change makers to engage, empower, connect, and with just like-minded peers, and just connect with each other and talk to community leaders and experts and make a difference. So the Ethiopian youth in the diaspora is large. There's so much talent, but we're not connected. So that's what we're trying to fix with this group. Also, the knowledge of the youth is, some of the youth know about their heritage and what they can do, some don't. So what we're trying to do is also teach them about their heritage, about Ethiopian history, about current affairs, and just coming together. If we can connect and work together, the impact we'll make will be very huge. I mean, just seeing what APAC has done in the last few years, if we can do the same with the youth, it's going to be amazing, I think. So that's what we're trying to do. I'm just going to the next slide. I really liked this quote from Mother Teresa, so I thought I would share. I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things. So I just love this. I feel like we have so many great people around the country, and together, if we come together with all the knowledge and expertise we have, it's just what we can do. It would be amazing. So what we have in mind is, we want this youth to be the voice of good, stand up for injustices, bring attention to issues, demand action. They are Americans, so they should see what's happening not only in their communities here in the US, but also abroad in Ethiopia. So they should be able to ask their government, what are you doing about Ethiopia? What are you doing in our community? So that is a great, I would say, area they can get involved. They can also get involved. We're talking about elections today in this meeting. If we have a great community of youth, we can get them involved to advocate for candidates, bring positive changes, not only here, but back home in Ethiopia. We also have so many great NGOs within our community, but a lot of them don't know about it. So I'm very passionate about volunteering. As Wasi said, I do think if our youth know about it, they can volunteer. It's so easy to volunteer. They can get involved in several NGOs. They can do knowledge transfer. It's a very sad statistics to know in Ethiopia right now, due to the conflict, there are millions of kids not in school. I mean, a simple way of fixing that is really connecting in different ways and maybe sharing knowledge, like teaching, or maybe just doing language or anything they can do to fix those kind of issues. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with this group. Our accomplishments so far, I feel like we did a lot in a very short amount of time. We did our first virtual town hall in March 2024. It was very successful. It was very engaging. I know some of you joined that meeting, and it was really nice. We also launched our website, as you can see here. Please go ahead and check it out. There's great information, how to join the group. Please, in your states, reach out to your friends and anyone that you know, just encourage them to join. We also have scholarships, internships, opportunity for the Ethiopian youth. We have we're planning multiple events for this year, also next year. We're trying to bring historians, anyone in this meeting that like you could share about Ethiopian history, anything to educate the youth about Ethiopia. That's what we're trying to do with multiple virtual meetings or in-person meetings. We're also planning to do community outreach, discussion forums about general health care, mental health. Our community, our youth are suffering with mental health. I think this is becoming a big problem. So we're trying to tap into that and see if we connect them and teach, bring great speakers in mental health and talk about that. It could be housing, immigration, college support, any resource sharing, and like I mentioned earlier, election and advocacy. They can register voters. They can educate our community about voting, the importance of voting. So we have a lot of great plans and we're very excited. We want support, so please share our website, our information. We're also going to be at the Ethiopian soccer in Atlanta this year. We're going to have a booth there, so check us out there. We're going to have a lot of gifts we're going to pass out to the youth. So we're very excited that we're going to be there. I think that's all I have, Wasi. I don't know if Yom or anybody else from the group want to add anything, but what I have for
I think
today.
It's very good what you added, but I also think if they just contact you through the AEPAC website, or do you have something that we can put in the chat? If you want to put it in the chat, just go ahead and put it in the
Yes,
chat.
I will.
Yes.
Will do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes. Thank you, Lily. That was really fantastic. You've done a lot
Yeah.
of work. The team is amazing, very talented. And you guys have a very busy, going to be a very busy year. And the SFNA will be reaching out to a lot of young people. The scholarship is going to be taking off. The internship is going to be taking off. So I'm very, very excited about the APAC youth community. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. So next is Yom Fataha. You will be talking to us about the election criteria and process for us. So just a short bio for Yom. He's the president of USA Pharma Products, Inc., pharmaceutical distribution and export company with over 25 years of experience in the industry. He currently serves as a member of several nonprofit and civic organizations, including AEPAC, EJD, Beza Orthodox founding member, and also board member of the International Orthodox Charities, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for the organization. And he's also a member of the Ethiopian North American Health Professional Association. Yom is a human rights activist, a philanthropist, and supporting all human rights causes in Ethiopia. He's also a founding board member of AEPAC and he's married and is the proud father of a daughter. So Yom, with this, yeah, you have the floor.
Thank you, Wasi. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
Thank you so much. This is very nice, very generous introduction. I appreciate that. And it's been really a good day. We had some really good speakers and amazing people who are really helping this community. And the theme here is for me to talk about voting, how important voting is. If we don't vote, people would not know us. They would not know our issues. So we're urging the Ethiopian American community, the diaspora community, to vote, to go out and vote. በአማርኛ ለአሜሪካንና ኢትዮጵያ ወዳጅነት ለሚተጉ ተወዳዳሪዎች እንዲመረጡ መጣር፣ በገንዘብም በድምፅም ማስመረጥ። ከሁሉም ፓርቲ አባል ለሆኑ ዴሞክራቲክ ፓርቲ ሊሆኑ ይችላሉ፣ ሪፐብሊካን ፓርቲ ሜምበርስ ሊሆኑ ይችላሉ። ግን የኢትዮጵያን ጥቅም የሚያስጠብቁ እስከሆኑ ድረስ እነሱን ማስመረጥ በጣም አስፈላጊ ነው። ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ጉዳይ የሚከታተል ኢትዮጵያን የሚጠቅሙ ህጎችን ሌጅስሌሽን እንዲወጣ የሚደግፉ ለምሳሌ እዚህ ለምንኖረው በንግድ በኢኮኖሚ የኢትዮጵያን ኮሚቴ የሚረዱት ሰዎችን ተወዳዳሪዎችን ማስመረጥ፣ ሰብአዊ መብት በሀገራችን ያለውን ንጹሐን ላይ የሚደረገውን ግድያን ለማስቆም ከፈለግን በግድ እንደ ሲድኒ ካምል ሀገር አይነት ሰዎችን ማስመረጥ፣ ይሄ በጣም ትልቅ ውጤታማ የሆነ ስራ ነው። ኤፓክ በአጭር ጊዜ ውስጥ ብዙ ስራዎችን ሰርቷል። ወደፊትም ደግሞ ራሳችን ማስከበር ከፈለግን እና ተደማጭነት ማግኘት ከፈለግን በግድ ኢትዮጵያን የሚጠቅሙ ኢትዮጵያን የሚወዱ የሁለቱን ሀገሮች ግንኙነት የሚያጠናክሩትን አባላት ወይም ተወዳዳሪዎች ማስመረጥ ግዴታ ነው ማለት ነው። ይሄ የኢንዶርስመንት ወይም ደግሞ እነኚህን ተወዳዳሪዎች ድጋፍ ለመስጠት የምናደርግበት መንገድ ምንድን ነው? እና ኤፓክ ይሄንን በደንብ አድርገው ተዘጋጅተዋል። በጣም ሪሰርች ኮሚቴ ያለው ችሎታ ያላቸው ሰዎች አሉ፣ ይህን በደንብ የሚያውቁ እንደነ ክሪስ ድራም አሁን ለምሳሌ ስቲምድ ኮሊግ ገቨርንመንት ሪሌሽንስ በደንብ አድርጎ ይሄንን ጉዳይ ከኮሚቴው ጋር ሪሰርች እያደረግን ለኮሚኒቲው ማቅረብ ይችላል። የትኞቹ ተወዳዳሪዎች የኢትዮጵያን ጥቅም የሚያስጠብቁ እንደሆኑ በደንብ አድርገን እናቀርባለን። ያለፈው ሚድተርም ኤሌክሽን እንደዚህ አድርገናል። ስለዚህ በዚህ ዓመት ደግሞ በጣም ክሪቲካል ነው። ፕሬዚደንሻል ኤሌክሽን አለ፣ ሴኔት፣ ሃውስ ኦፍ ሬፕሬዘንታቲቭስ ዩኤስ እና በጣም ክሪቲካል ነው። ስለዚህ በዚህ ላይ ኢትዮጵያን ጥቅም የሚያስጠብቁትን ማስመረጥ በጣም በህይወታችንም ላይ ብዙ ለውጥ ያመጣል። እዚህ ላለን ለሀገራችንም ደግሞ ለሰላም ሰብአዊ መብት ማስከበር የሚጠቅም ማለት። ስለዚህ ፕሮሰሱ ምንድን ነው? እሱ ይህንን እንዴት አድርገን ነው እሱ የምናስመርጠው የሚለው ላይ እንግዲህ ዋናው የሪሰርች ኮሚቴው ስቴት ኤሌክሽን ኮሚቴው አንድ ላይ በመሆን እነኚህን ለኢትዮጵያን ጥቅም የሚያስጠብቁት ተወዳዳሪዎች አይደንቲፋይ ያደርጋሉ። ከዛ በኋላ ስብሰባ ይደረጋል። ስብሰባ ይደረግና ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ጉዳይ እናስተምራለን ማለት ኤጁኬት ማድረጉ። አሁን ሲድኒን እንግዲህ ያስተማሩት እነዋሲ ናቸው ማለት በኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ የሚደረገው ሰብአዊ መብት ጥሰትን ኢትዮጵያ ኮሚኒቲ ላይ የሚደረገውን ሁሉ ይህን ሁሉ በደንብ አድርገው አስረድተዋል። ይኸውና ልክ እውነተኛውን ነገር እየተናገረች ናለች። ስለዚህ ማስተማር ትልቅ ነገር ነው። በስብሰባ መልክ አሁን ይሄ ከጃን ጄምስ ሰብ ኮሚቴ ፎር አፍሪካ እሱ ጋር ያደረግነው ስብሰባ ነው። የፎቶግራፍ እዚህ ላይ ያለው እህታችን አስቴር ዳዊት ናት ያዘጋጀችው ኤሲሲ እና it shows a collaboration, very successful collaboration between ASCC and AEPAC. I want to thank Aster again. እና ወደፊትም ደግሞ በዚህ ከቀጠልን አብረን ከሰራን ዋናው ነገር ይሄ ነው። አብረን ከሰራን እና አብረን ከመረጥን የበለጠ ኢፌክቲቭ ይሆናል እና ይሄን ለማለት ነው። እና ምንድን ናቸው ጥያቄዎች? በምንድን ነው የምናውቀው እነኚህ ሰዎች ምን አይነት ጥያቄዎችን እንጠይቃቸዋለን? የኢትዮጵያ ደጋፊ መሆናቸውን በምንድን ነው የምናውቀው? አንደኛ ጥያቄው እንግዲህ ሶስት ጥያቄዎች አሉ። አንደኛ would you support AEPAC's mission of advancing US-Ethiopia relations with a focus on human rights, the rule of law, good governance, democracy for the Ethiopian people? Additionally, would you be interested in contributing to this mission by actively participating in the Ethiopian caucus in the US Congress? The Ethiopian caucus አንዱ አባል Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick is a friend of the Ethiopian community. We had a fundraising for him. Also, we have met with him and now we endorsed him. እና አሁንም ደግሞ እንደዚሁ ምርጫ ላይ ነው ያለው። እሱንም አሁን እንግዲህ ያው ተጨማሪ ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ጉዳይ ሌጅስሌሽን ለማውጣትም ሊረዳን የሚችል ስለሆነ እሱን እየደገፍ ነው ያለ ነው። ሁለተኛ will you issue a public statement condemning atrocities, human rights violations of the rule of law, restrictions on freedom of religion and press in Ethiopia, and advocate for legislation that supports the rights and freedoms of Ethiopian people? So ይሄ በጣም አስፈላጊ ነው። የሁማን ራይትስ ቫዮሌሽን በየቀኑ ነው የምንሰማው። ንጹሃን እየተገደሉ ንጹሃኖችን ኤክስትራ ጁዲሻል ኪሊንግ እየተደረገ ብዙ አይነት ስቃይ ላይ ያለው እና ይሄንን ማስቆሙ ራሱ ቀላል። ስለዚህ በመምረጥ አንድ ላይ በመሆን ይሄን ለማስቆም እንችላለን። ሶስተኛ given Ethiopia's stand among the top 5 recipients of U.S. financial aid, recognizing the power of the purse vested in the United States Congress, will you advocate for leveraging this financial influence to enforce accountability by imposing targeted sanctions against individuals and government officials involved in the corruption, human rights violation, crimes against humanity? Additionally, would you commit to sending a letter to POTUS, the President of the United States, advocating for the application of the Magnitsky Act to those Ethiopian leaders guilty of such offenses? So ይሄ በጣም ደግሞ በእውነቱ ፓወርፉል የሆነ ቱል ነው ያለው። ይሄንን ለማድረግ የሚፈልጉትን ካንዲዴቶች የኛ ወዳጆች ናቸው ማለት ነው። እዚህ ፎቶግራፍ ላይ የፊላደልፊያ ሬዞሉሽን በሚመለከት ነው። እቺ ወዳጃችን ናት እና ጄሚ ጉቴ ትባላለች። የኢትዮጵያ ኮሚኒቲ በጣም የምትረዳ ናት። ሌሎቹም ደግሞ አባሎች ናቸው። በጣም ኢትዮጵያ የተከበረችበት ቀን ነው። ቅድም አቶ መስፍን ተናግረዋል። ኢትዮጵያ የተከበረችበት ሀገር ጊዜ ነበረ። አሁንም ደግሞ ይሄን ለማድረግ የቻልነው አንድ ላይ በመሆናችን፣ አንድ ላይ በመስራታችን ራሳችንንም ሀገራችንን ማስከበር ችለናል ማለት ነው። እንግዲህ in the candidate endorsement process, if the candidate's response to these questions are yes, you ask them 3 questions. If they say yes, then the candidate will be a good candidate for endorsement. There are also some facts that we should look at before making a final decision to endorse. Electability of the candidate is one of those points. So if the candidate has potential to be elected, then that will be also another encouraging incentive for us to vote for him or to endorse him. It's also a good idea to know the candidate's previous positions in U.S.-Ethiopia relations. And many Ethiopian friends of Ethiopia, like Chris Smith, have a very good track record. So we also look at that when we endorse them. So AEPAC endorsement process will be done in a transparent and unbiased manner. AEPAC is a nonpartisan organization, and state committees are expected to work with Republicans, Democrats, or independent candidates. So the litmus test for candidate endorsement is, do they support Ethiopian cause? Do they support Ethiopian Americans? That's no. It has nothing to do with their party affiliation. Therefore, state committees are required to closely work with a candidate of interest, an incumbent or a challenger, in order to gather relevant information about that candidate. The state committees will propose to endorse the candidate and send the recommendation to AEPAC board and NECC. To finalize endorsement, NECC will discuss the recommendation and announce its decision. AEPAC will issue press release endorsing the candidate. The news will be announced on AEPAC website and social media. State committees will share the news with our community, Ethiopian, Eritrean, Ethiopian Americans, friends of Ethiopia, so that the community will take note on the decision. So here is I think a text message that Angela also Brooks, she's running for Senate in Maryland. She texted after we AEPAC endorsed her. She said she's excited to receive endorsement of the American Ethiopian Public Affairs Committee. I will work in the Senate to represent the growing and vibrant Ethiopian community here in Maryland and strengthen the U.S.-Ethiopia relationship, which really is a very good yes. It's very, very positive. So here is Wasi and her colleagues, and Sydney Kamlager was here. Sydney Kamlager was here, and she really is an amazing speech today. And she, so really, it's a lot of hard work, but it really has a big payoff. So having a friend, a staunch supporter of Ethiopian Americans is worth all the work. So the AEPAC board will decide how much money will be donated. This is the fundraising, Wasi. This is the fundraising you had for Sydney. It was like, I think it was months ago.
2 weeks ago.
It was successful. It was very successful. Yeah. The state committee should chart out a work plan to organize rallies and support the candidate, mobilize voters to register and vote on time. Can be fundraising in the state level. We had so many fundraisers for pro-Ethiopia candidates. We still will have a lot more this year as well. So AEPAC will provide a list of pro-Ethiopian candidates for each state and for national elections. The list will be posted on AEPAC website. Please vote to the candidates you support. We will provide all the information. We will do the research, and we will help you communicate with your representatives, and we will post their names so people can vote to this pro-Ethiopia candidates. And we've done this before. Midterm election, we endorsed 55 candidates at the state level, at the national level, senators, congressmen, governors. So these are the people we endorsed, and all of them were elected. So we do have friends in Congress. We do have friends in Senate as a result of all the hard work AIPAC has done. And I encourage everyone to participate this year. Please vote, ask your family, your friends to vote, and go ahead, talk to your representatives, and educate them about Ethiopia, educate them about the Ethiopian community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yom. I just would like to add just a little bit to what you just said. I mean, we do these fundraisers, but what's really incredible is AIPAC matches that. You know, we always, whatever we raise, like for instance, we raised money here for Sydney. AIPAC gave us $3,300. So all this is money that AIPAC has to somehow raise. And I know a lot of this comes from people's pockets. So just understand how important that is. And I know I keep talking about it. Yeah, your donations are so very important. For instance, here in California right now, for Senate, Adam Schiff is going to run for Senate. And we know he's going to be elected. And we know he was not a friend, because the last time, you know, he sided with the, you know, with the Wayani in some positions. So we're trying to win Adam Schiff over. I mean, he's not a friend yet, but we want to make him a friend before he gets elected. And how do we make him a friend? We go, we talk to him, we'll say, we'll fund your campaign. So these are some of the things that we also do. So it's just very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out, Omasi. We can give donations up to $5,000. Yes. And but it's money well spent. I mean, yes, to get respect. And we Ethiopian community here in the United States have done very well. Educated themselves, work hard, businesses. They're successful in many ways. There are law-abiding people, but we haven't had really success in getting our issues recognized at Congress and Senate. AIPAC has started that process, working with our friends and like-minded organizations like ESCC and others. We can do a lot more. We can be able to get more respect. We can be heard. We can have good friends in Congress and Senate. Thank you very much. And I'd like to also recognize our friend Chris Drum, who's done a fantastic job connecting us with the representatives who can be able to help us, and also Jared Solomon. So thank you, AIPAC team, everyone. We're hardworking, highly motivated, and highly skilled people. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with this, we come to Chris. He's our next speaker, and he's going to talk to us about the election landscape. And I'll just do a short introduction. Chris Drum's involvement in politics began with the 1980s Pennsylvania primary. He was a statewide campus coordinator for Senator Kennedy's campaign. And after that, he worked on several other campaigns. In 1987, he was elected leader of the Philadelphia's 63rd Ward as the youngest person to ever hold that title. Over the next 2 decades, he was subsequently re-elected to the post several times, always unanimously. Professionally, politics led Drum to positions with Philadelphia City Council, the Delaware River Port Authority, and the office of Congressman Robert Borsky. Drum began his career as a lobbyist at St. Joseph's University, where he served as a special advisor to the president and vice president of government affairs for nearly 10 years. Drum spent the last 20 years leading government affairs and a team of over 25 at AmeriHealth Caritas, one of America's largest managed care organizations. In his role as vice president, he was charged with both protecting the integrity of the managed care programs of several states and securing funding commensurate with the needs of the most vulnerable citizens of these states. While at AmeriHealth Caritas, Drum created the AmeriHealth Caritas PAC, an employee-funded political action committee, which now raises and disperses about $150,000 annually. These employees generated dollars have been carefully spent and have served to amplify the company's voice on behalf of those it serves in our nation's capital. Chris works with AIPAC now, and we are very, very excited to have him as part of our team. Chris, you have the floor.
Thank you for that very generous introduction. I'm going to take a look today, this afternoon. I'm very pleased to be able to speak to this group and to give a brief overview of the political environment. I don't know if people could see my screen in 2024. Can folks see the screen?
It says screen broadcast Zoom. You are sharing. It says, but it's black, what we see. If you want to, you can send it to Yerus or Elias. Yeah.
First, you can send it to me. I can share it.
Oh, there
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
that's good. That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Now we can see it, Chris.
Let me see. Let's give it. How about now?
Yeah, we can. We see it.
Okay, great. This is an overview. Thank you. An overview of the 2024 election. Now, election year is every year, and the people who make progress vote every year, participate every year. But certainly, the 2024 election is the high point of the current election cycle, of the 4-year election cycle. Generally, in odd years, we elect state and county officials. Even years, we do federal. The even year where we don't elect a president is called the midterm or the off cycle, the off year election. This year, we do elect a president. We also elect many members of the U.S. Senate. 34 seats are up for election or re-election in the U.S. Senate. And of course, each member of the United States House of Representatives is up for election every 2 years. So the Senate, generally, we run a third, and a third on a 6-year cycle. House of Representatives, we run every year. Now, the marquee election, the one that is the sexiest or the horse race that gets the most attention, is, of course, the presidential election. And I think people know both these gentlemen. Joe Biden has been in the public eye since he was elected to the U.S. Senate at the age of 28, and he's no longer 28. So he's been in the U.S. Senate forever. He served as Mr. Obama, President Obama's vice president, and has been president for the past 4 years. President Trump, former President Trump, his likely opponent or his presumptive opponent, has also been in the public eye for many, many years as a celebrity and subsequently as a public official. So both gentlemen are quite well known. Their weaknesses, their strengths are well known. They're on television continuously, both paid and earned, quote unquote. The polling in the race is exceedingly close. It's an unusual race, having a former run against a current. I think it's happened once or twice before. President Teddy Roosevelt ran as a former, was unsuccessful. President Cleveland was able to do what President Trump is attempting to do, that is have 2 non-contiguous terms. So Trump will be only the second president in American history to do that if he is successful. You see, and again, the polling is exceedingly close. Here are 2 other people who I know are well known to the group. That is Mrs. Hillary Clinton, who is the wife of President Bill Clinton, a former U.S. Senator and a former United States Secretary of State for President Obama. She ran for president in 2016 and lost to Donald Trump, who at the time had never held public office, was a very well-known person, I mean, universally known by virtue of television and other media coverage, but had never held public office. She lost. She won the popular vote, but of course, we live in a republic, and the Electoral College determines who is president. And the margin in just 3 states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, made Donald Trump president in 2016. And that was the election, to read the quote from the Washington Post, the 2016 election was effectively decided by 107,000 people in 3 states, PA, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That amounts to 0.09% of all the votes cast in the 2016 election. So I think the message is your vote truly matters. You need to go to the polling place. These elections are won by very, very tiny majorities. That's a newer phenomena, but the last several elections have been very close, and this one will be very close as well, or so the polling tells us. So your voting does matter. We go to the U.S. Senate, which is the upper chamber of Congress, and where a lot of policy gets dictated, gets made, and where a lot of policy gets stopped. So right now, the U.S. Senate, the House and the Senate are bifurcated. The U.S. Senate is in Democratic hands by a margin of just two. Actually, it's closer than that. 3 independents sit with the Democrats to get them to 51. The Republicans are at 49. Mr. Manchin of West Virginia frequently votes with the Republicans. That leads to a 50-50 tie, and Kamala Harris, our vice president, is permitted to vote in the instance she presides over the Senate, and she votes in the instance of ties. So I can't imagine it being any closer. The U.S. House is controlled by the Republicans, as Congresswoman Kamala noted. That's also a very close majority. It's the closest ever, or the closest at least in decades. Just 5 members separate the majority, the Republicans from the Democrats. So we have 218 Republicans, 213 Democrats. I mean, so someone gets sick, it throws the whole House into disarray. Someone dies, and with 435 members, people die on the regular. So again, your vote matters, and our actions matter. They matter greatly. Again, here's the U.S. Senate: 51 Democrats, including 3 independents. King of Massachusetts, Sanders of Vermont, and Sinema of Arizona, who's leaving the U.S. Senate. Again, Republican members, 49. So control of the Senate will be determined by November's election. Certainly, with 34 up, the control of the Senate, and the majority has just magnificent powers, as Congresswoman Kamala also noted. The minority has its say, and the majority has its way. So our actions will impact who controls this U.S. Senate over the next 2 years. Let's see. While most incumbent senators are seeking re-election, 7 vacancies have occurred, several from retirement, 1 by death. Additionally, and there could be some folks on today from New Jersey, Mr. Menendez of New Jersey is seeking re-election as an independent. But as a practical matter, his seat is vacant. So we have a number of vacant seats, and they're listed here. And I list them because vacancies present a greater opportunity than solid re-elect states and merit our special attention, as do seats considered competitive by the marketplace. And there's no lack or no absence of polling that tells us which seats are competitive and which seats aren't. And we look at the competitive seats because they amplify our voices. That's competitive Senate seats. Here's a subset of them: Montana, Ohio, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And of course, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Nevada are of particular interest to our group. The highly competitive nature of these races combined with the presence of politically active Ethiopian Americans in each state offer an opportunity to amplify our group's influence. And again, politically active is the key term there, or the key phrase. That's the U.S. Senate. The House, just as competitive. I mean, you look at the red dots, Republican, the blue dots, Democratic, and just at first glance, it's even. Well, it's practically even. Again, just 5 seats separating majority from minority. And majority sets the agenda. Majority, given that the president and the Senate are Democratic, the majority currently can stop their initiatives. They can nip things in the bud and murder them in the crib, etc. So who controls the House will have a lot to do with our success over the next 2 years. And we want to play a very active role, as Yom noted, in these House seats. And there's a list of competitive House races, which the Exec Committee has gone over many times. And Yom took us through the endorsement process, which is key to sort of increasing our influence with these races. And I think we have chosen a very judicious course. So here's the conclusion. 2024's elections will be extremely competitive. And at risk are control of the presidency, the U.S. Senate, and the U.S. House. And control of all three are in play. That's not always the case. If you think about Bill Clinton's reelect, it was not a fait accompli that he would be reelected, but we had a reasonable sense that he would be. The same thing for George W. Bush. The results of November's elections will be extremely impactful, both at home and abroad. The world will be a different place in January of 2025. The world will be a different place. If you think about Mr. Trump's defeat of Mrs. Clinton and what it has meant with the appointment of 3 U.S. Supreme Court justices and just a whole different direction in terms of policy. I'm not judging whose policy would be better or was better, but certainly these elections have great consequences. Now, that's the scenario. The upside or the opportunity this presents is the competitive nature of this year's election offer an opportunity to this group to influence matters, to shape the differences we will experience when a new president and Congress are sworn in. When the majorities are so tight, when the difference between winning and losing is so small, smaller groups can matter greatly if they're strategically governed. And certainly AEPAC and affiliated organizations are strategically governed. So we're looking to maximize our influence in 2024. And we need to do so by voting. And that's got to be table stakes. Everyone needs to vote, as Yom noted, as others have noted. We need to vote. We can amplify or maximize our influence by working with candidates. And there's nothing that builds a relationship quite the same way as working alongside a candidate. They do see you, they come to appreciate, you build a relationship. When these candidates and subsequently office holders, when they get elected, when they think about Ethiopia and the challenges of Ethiopia and what Ethiopia means to America, we want them to think of us. And we do that by working with them. And finally, giving. We maximize our influence through giving. And I know that's easier for some people than others. I'm not saying it's a good system or a bad system, but the currency of politics is currency. And dollars do matter. Perhaps it should not matter, but they do matter and matter greatly. And AEPAC has been able to raise some dollars and has spent them, again, very strategically. They put them to the best use. I'm very confident about that. They've gotten the optimal use and bang from each dollar received. So voting, working, and giving are the three imperatives for 2024 for our group and for anyone looking to influence the United States going forward over the next several years. So that's what I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. That was very, very good.
Thank you.
That clarifies a lot of things, I hope, for a lot of people. And later, if we have a few minutes, maybe there'll be some questions and answers. But now I'd like to come to our last speaker. And that's about Ethiopian Americans' active participation in voting helps resolve the crisis in Ethiopia. And that is Nabiyu. I am really excited that I get to say Nabiyu's bio because he always says an activist. That's all we always had from him. But this time, everyone will get to know you, Nabiyu. Nabiyu Asfaw, a native of Ethiopia and proud Coloradan, is widely recognized as a thought leader and passionate advocate for community service, social justice, and cultural preservation. With over 15 years of dedicated involvement in various capacities within the Ethiopian American community. Nabiyu currently serves on the AEPAC Government Relations National Committee, utilizing his position to advocate for his community locally and globally. Nabiyu's journey in community service began at the St. Mary Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church in Denver, Colorado, where he found not just spiritual solace, but also a nurturing space for Ethiopian heritage and community cohesion. Nabiyu is co-founder and director of Colorado's Taste of Ethiopia Festival, one of Denver's largest annual summer festivals, and he is the recipient of 2024 Nonprofit of the Year Award from the African Chamber of Commerce. Operating under the motto, once a year, Colorado goes Ethiopian, the Taste of Ethiopia has been a great success in mainstreaming Ethiopian food, culture, and arts in the state of Colorado. And it takes place in August, by the way, August 3rd to 4th. This year, I am going to be there too. Nabiyu also serves on Colorado Governor Jared Polis's community engagement team and Community Police Advisory Team, CPACT, for the City of Aurora Chief of Police, where he is contributing to positive police-community relations. He's the co-founder of the Ethiopian American Development Council, championing human rights and interests of Ethiopian Americans and Ethiopians worldwide. Nabiyu's unwavering commitment has earned him recognition, including the African Americans Who Make a Difference Award in 2019 from the Denver Urban Spectrum, Community Advocates Recognition in the United States. In the United States Congress from Colorado, Congressman Mike Kaufman in 2018, and a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017 from the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo St. Mary Church in Colorado, showcasing his dedication to uniting and empowering the Ethiopian American community in Colorado. He is a fierce advocate for justice and families. Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager proudly, oh, sorry, I mixed that up. I'm so sorry. So I end it here. So that's Nabiyu. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nabiyu.
Thank you,
Now have the
Wasi.
floor.
Thank you, Wasi, for the humbling introduction. I'm honored to be here addressing you, my fellow Ethiopian Americans, about the importance of voting and just summarizing, what today was all about. On this call today, on this forum today, we had the privilege of having not one, but two elected representatives. This is a big deal. This underscores our collective power and the significance of our coming together and the influence we can have as a voting bloc. So today, many of our esteemed speakers have said why it's important to vote. It's not just for shaping the policies that affect us here in the United States, but also for influencing the foreign policy to help our brothers and sisters back home in Ethiopia. The United States is the most powerful nation in the world, whether we like it or not. When it comes to foreign policy and global policy, the United States single-handedly plays a significant role in shaping policies, geopolitical situations all around the world, including Ethiopia. So that's why it's important for us to be engaged with the policymakers that shape this policy. And first and foremost, we have to acknowledge the vital role we play as Americans of Ethiopian descent. We have to recognize the strength of our community. Our community has grown and thrived and with immense contribution to the fabric of this nation. And this is something many people don't realize. It's very important to recognize that the Ethiopian American community is not a new immigrant group. Our roots stretch back over half a century in America, originating in the early 1970s, when people started fleeing Ethiopia because of the bloody revolution. So for the past 50 years, we've been part of this nation growing and children being born here. In fact, we're now on the third generation of Ethiopians being born in America. And as we reach the third generation, over 1 million of us are around this nation, part of American society. Our community has been known to exemplify and be a remarkable success story, contributing in so many ways in business and education and science and arts and various industries, making a very positive impact, recognizable contribution. We're known to be good neighbors and model citizens. Our culture, our music, our art is now really part of the American melting pot. And one evidence I will give you this is the emergence of Ethiopian food as part of the mainstream America and virtually every major American city. So we've done a lot in 50 years, except we are just now awakening to the political engagement and the civic engagement in this country. Despite our contribution, or 50 years, which is half a century, despite our collective success as a community, we often have seen policies that don't reflect our interests and our values, especially when it comes to foreign policy. We've been frustrated year after year on why is Congress doing this? Why is the United States doing this? Why is this not happening? But we can change that. And that is why, APAC was established, and APAC is a long time coming. And that is why we have several civic organizations now working together to make sure that our collective voice is finally being heard. Our participation in the electoral process is so important. It is so important. When we vote, we have the power to influence the decisions, not just complain about it, directly influence it. Beyond the local and national policies, we can significantly impact the international foreign policies of the United States, which in turn influences the European Union, the United Nations, and all the major players around the world. America sets the tone. And then another thing I want to remind you is Ethiopia is one of the top 5 recipients of US aid. That's my tax dollar, that's your tax dollar, and that is going to Ethiopia, the 5th largest, next to Ukraine, Israel, Egypt, Pakistan, and Ethiopia is right up there. So your tax dollar, whether we like it or not, is playing a role. So it's important for us also to have our voice in that with our elected leaders who assign this tax dollars to whatever purpose it goes to. So that is why we want you to vote. We want you to get your families, your friends, your community, your church, your mosque, advocate for our citizens to not only register, but to vote. We're not advocating for one political party, but we're advocating for community engagement to vote for candidates that promote the wellness of the Ethiopian people, human rights, justice, and to ensure that the American tax dollar is not being used to suppress our people. When we vote for candidates who understand and prioritize the need of Ethiopia, U.S. foreign policy will follow that. And proof of that is 2 representatives were on this call today, and it was covered how many meetings that have been had over the past few weeks with AEPAC, EACC, and other organizations, complete direct engagement. So consider the power we hold, and that power has no base unless we're actively voting. And especially this coming election, locally and nationally, it's very important. It's crucial in shaping the direction of this nation and its relationship with the Ethiopian people. And what we advocate for is the Ethiopian people and our community here. So imagine collective impact we can have if every American of Ethiopian descent registers, talks to the candidates, talks to the elected officials, and voice our concern about Ethiopia. Our voice can bring the attention. We're always complaining about there's not enough attention on Ethiopia. America is focused on Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, the Middle East, but more people have died in Ethiopia over the past 5 years than Ukraine and Gaza combined. But yet we've not even made the radar. People are getting massacred, civilians, in the Amhara region and the Oromia region, literally by the hundreds at a time. People are being imprisoned by the tens of thousands, and now we're hearing torture is back in Ethiopia. People are getting tortured in prison. Worse than the dirt, worse than what we witnessed with the TPLF. Terrible things are happening inside those prisons. War crime is being committed. We've never had a government in Ethiopia before that dropped drone bombs on its own citizens. We've never had 5 million people displaced in Ethiopia before. So the catastrophe and the human suffering in Ethiopia right now is the worst in the world. But it's not recognized, and we can change that by being consistent, resilient, and being in the face of our elected officials and our candidates to make sure that they make this a thing. They make this an important subject matter in the discussions in the hall of Congress, make it an important part of the discussions in all offices, the State Department, and elsewhere, the United Nations, the European Union, the G7, the NATO, everywhere foreign policy is discussed, the cause of the Ethiopian people, where an alleged genocide is occurring, where millions are starving, where hundreds of thousands are displaced and being actively massacred. This should be on the forefront of the world's attention. And that is why we have to be engaged and with policymakers, because they set the tone. And the voting, and it's great to be advocate, it's great to be on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media. It's great to do all that. It's great to do protest, and everything we do is great. But unless we vote, unless we show up at the poll, we're not going to be taken as seriously as other communities where we've seen them being very strategic and successful in ensuring that their cause and issues are uplifted to where they need to be. And that is why we're here calling on you, or call to action, that this is the time to engage. So I urge you, not only for you, obviously you've showed up here, you've sat with us for how long now, but I urge you to be the champions and ambassadors to go out, register people to vote. Go to your community centers, go to your churches, your mosques, and talk to the people and say, we want to set up a voter registration drive. You don't have to advocate for a candidate. You don't have to, but get people to register between now all the way through November, and then let's get our people to vote. And this is not just a civic duty. It is a powerful tool for shaping the future of our community here in the United States, and the most powerful way to support the people of Ethiopia. We have that opportunity now, and it is a very, interesting time in American politics. The electorate is divided in many places. Chris mentioned earlier, he highlighted all the competitive areas. We have a significant number of community members in those areas. Your vote can be the decisive factor. A few hundred votes can make that determination. A few years ago here in Colorado, in a mayoral election, the current mayor of Aurora won by 200 votes, and he was endorsed by the Ethiopian community who voted for him. So we made that difference. And so we've seen it happen. And that can happen also in the congressional race as well. There's been congressional races where candidates have won within 1,000, 2,000 votes. Presidential elections in Georgia, the last election, you remember how close it was. So together we can ensure that our voice is heard and that we're recognized as a voting bloc. And that doesn't mean we all have to vote the same, but we all have to vote. And this is one way, an easy way to contribute. In addition to this, I urge you, AEPAC is doing a lot of great work. Sign up as a member, contribute monthly, whatever you can, $10, $20, $100, whatever you can, and participate when meetings are called, and join your local chapter. AEPAC has over 18 chapters across the country. Join the local chapter. If there's not a chapter in your state, start one. Reach out to AEPAC, we'll help you. But let's organize. Organizing is the basic foundation into building a successful movement. We could do it, we're doing it, but it is time now to put it on overdrive. So thank you, Wasi, and thank you everyone for joining us and for giving me this privilege to speak with you.
Thank you, Nayu. That was really wonderful. You summarized all of this together very well. So if I know we've been here for some time now, but if you have any questions, please feel free. The floor is open for you now. And then after that, Muslim will wrap up. But any questions or any suggestions? Well, okay. Let me see in the comments if there's anything in the comments. Well, I guess everyone is kind of okay with it then. If there's no questions. Well, then I'll ask for one short comment. Does anyone have a short comment? You can raise your hand. Yeah, you're saying you can raise your hand or type your questions. Okay, Aster says, very timely and necessary meeting with knowledgeable leaders making points and informing supporters. Thank you, APAC. Thank you, ECC. Thank you, Aster. Thank you for this wonderful collaboration that we all have. Okay, Musfin.
Well, thank you everyone. 2.5 hours we were together. The message is one and the same. We have a role to play. We know how to play it. We can play the role. I mean, Neb has summarized this very nicely. Let's get together, work together and make a difference. ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ያለውን ሁኔታ today what's happening in Ethiopia መለወጥ የሚቻልበት ወይም መለወጥ ባይቻል ኢንፍሉዌንስ ፖዚቲቭሊ ኢንፍሉዌንስ ማድረግ የመቻል ካፓሲቲ አለው እዚህ ውስጥ አሁን እዚህ የተሰበሰበው ሰው or people who are listening to this online and people who will be listening to this በኋላ so በተቻለ መጠን let's act on it, let's play our role. And thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for your time, and we'll hopefully we'll see you on a live event soon. And regarding the project that I mentioned at the beginning of the discussion, please feel free to reach out if you have ideas, comments, suggestions. We'll need some serious thinkers to help us get structured. And with that, I would say thank you, Wasi, for the fabulous work you did. One of the best master of ceremonies ever.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who took time to prepare the presentations and fantastic presentations. My colleague Guillaume, thank you. And Chris Tram, you are the best. And the team that kept this thing running, Elias behind the scenes and Yerus and obviously, the way Neb summarized this story, he put it together into a very crisp and clean way. And thanks Neb for everything that you do. An amazing patriot. And thank you everybody for being with us for this 2.5 hours. And officially we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Teamwork. That's what